morning, everyone. Carmela Novi, New Jersey family law attorney, your divorce architect. This morning on my morning drive, I'm going to talk to you about how to not leave assets on the table and make sure that you get a division of all assets that were acquired during your marriage. So, as part of a divorce in New Jersey, you're required to do a few things. You're required to file what's called the case information statement. That's an 11-page document where you and your spouse each have to document under oath what all the assets are, what all the debts are, what all the income is. You're also required to what's called answer discovery, which are very often in the form of interrogatories and or a notice to produce, which requires you to provide answers under oath, written answers under oath, or to provide documents under oath. So with those discovery tools, interrogatories and a notice to produce, you can learn from the other side about bank accounts, brokerage accounts, retirement accounts. You can get statements. You can usually ask for statements going back quite a number of years, retroactively, to make sure that there were no loans taken or withdrawals taken from accounts that you're not aware of, or against retirement accounts that you're not aware of that are in your spouse's name only. This is critically important because when you enter into a settlement, you don't want to leave any assets on the table. And if you do want to leave assets on the table, in other words, if you do want to waive the right to the division of an account that has some money in it in exchange for something else that's more important to you, that's fine. But you want to make sure that any settlement that you enter into is knowing and intelligent, and meaning you've got all the information you need, and at that point now you're just making your own decision about how to divide things, how to distribute marital assets, and so forth. This is really critical because when you file for divorce, you also have the right to have your attorney serve subpoenas upon banks, financial institutions, all sorts of entities, if you believe that there are hidden assets. Like nowadays, people invest in crypto. Very often the spouses don't have transparency about that or clarity on what that is or how it's held or how much it's worth. And there's lots of things that we can subpoena. I also have subpoenaed FanDuels, DraftKings, because I have clients who say that there's marital debt that they don't want to be responsible for because the debt was not incurred by the other spouse for support of the family or to provide for the family, but for things that were for not the marital purpose. So discovery is a really important tool. And this dovetails with my other video about mediation. There are times when mediation doesn't work because the one or both of the parties are hiding assets or income. And unless there's a divorce action pending, you can't serve subpoenas and you can't demand interrogatories or a notice to produce that are signed under oath. So while mediation is great, like I've talked about in the past in other videos, it's not the only tool in your toolbox, and it needs to be used in conjunction with other tools. So when I have people who come to me and who say they don't want to file yet, they want to go to mediation, they want to keep costs down, that's fine. But you really need to make sure that whatever tools you are not using to discover assets, debts, and income, you're waiving those rights or you're waiving the use of those tools knowingly and intelligently. I just had a case go before a judge because the husband would not turn over records and would not turn over information about assets that were acquired during the marriage and which are subject to equitable distribution. And after a few times of him not turning them over, we got before a judge, and after months and months of delay and refusals to turn over documents and information, she not only sanctioned him, which is really not common in New Jersey. I don't see judges very often sanctioning litigants, but that will tell you how long this went on for, this game playing by this one person, but also ordered him twice to pay a portion of my client's counsel fees. So there are tools and mechanisms to go after a spouse who's not being truthful during your settlement or negotiation process with things that are really important to understand and to know, information that's really critical before you sign anything. So that's my tip for the day on my morning drive. Carmela Novi, family law, New Jersey attorney and mediator, your divorce architect. Have a great day.